Namaste. Hi everyone, welcome to your tutorial for this monthly package of October 2020. So I thought to start with we'd go through something that people seem to have a bit of confusion over and often are getting injuries from, which is the vinyasa. We call it the vinyasa. It's a sequence of movements where we go from downward dog to plank. Mainly this part, from downward dog to plank and then lower to the floor. This is where the issues seem to arise, and a lot of people are getting issues with their wrists and issues with their shoulders. So first of all, there's a few different ways of going down to the floor, and I want to show you those ways. And also there's a certain positioning of the shoulders that we need to maintain and a certain amount of strength we need in our core to be able to take some of the positions to go down to the floor. So really what I would suggest is, if this is something you struggle with, don't feel like you have to do every single vinyasa within a class. Feel free to stay in downward dog. You can also go to child's pose if downward dog feels too much. And if you have an injury, always adapt. Or if you feel like you're losing your form and you're not yet strong enough to do the full chaturanga, the full version going down, you don't have to do it. It's not gonna make you any more enlightened than if you don't do chaturanga. It's not what yoga is. So it's just a part of the physical practice, and as we keep practicing regularly and consistently, you're going to get stronger, you're going to get more flexible, and it will come in time. But don't try and force it and feel like you have to do it every time. So we'll go through first of all some of the issues. So if we come up, you can watch this first time round, I would suggest, and then maybe if you come back to this tutorial, you can join in with me. So if we just come onto the hands and knees, you want to look down and the hands are shoulder width distance and the fingers are spread. The elbow pits, the inner part of the elbow, are just slightly turning forwards. If you've got bendy elbows like I have, be careful not to push into that. Okay, so it may feel like you're slightly bending the elbows if you've got extra flexible elbows. So from here we want to feel this action of pushing the floor away with the hands, because what we often see is, in this position, a collapsing like this. So people collapse into the shoulders and the shoulder blades scrunch towards each other on the upper back. The chest collapses to the floor, you lose your core, you lose all those connections through the core muscles. So feel that you're pushing the floor away, so we get this slight lift of the chest away from the ground. So let's keep that in mind as we tuck the toes under, squeeze in your belly button and lift up to downward dog. Okay, we're just going to go forwards and back to downward dog, to plank and back to downward dog, and just really put that into practice, that feeling, that action of pushing the floor away. So as you come into your plank pose, you're not collapsing, you're not bending your elbows, and you're not sticking your chin forwards. Push the floor away, keep the head in line with the spine, and careful of the hips. Often I see people bringing their hips all the way down like this as well. Keep your hips up, it's better to have them a bit higher than anything. Exhale, go back, downward dog. Let's do that a few times. Inhale forwards, push the floor away so you feel the upper back is rounded. Exhale, go back. A couple more. Inhale forwards, push the floor away. You'll really feel it working around the shoulder blades, around the area towards the armpit, from the shoulder blade to the armpit, yeah? And then we go back. And again, inhale forwards, push the floor away. And exhale, go back. Lower your knees down, take a breather. So I will practice that on its own when you can, and just really get used to feeling that precision in your plank pose. So we're going to move on now to the 3 different ways I'm going to show you of lowering down to the floor. We'll go in stages of difficulty. So we lift up to downward dog, you come forwards to plank, pushing the floor away, press it away with the hands, rounding the upper back, squeeze the belly button in, lower your knees to the floor. So this first version, you're going to just let your chest move forwards, let your hips come down. As you're letting your hips come down, you're bending your elbows, especially if you don't have a big high cobra. a deep high cobra. Okay, so you want to be careful there. So let's do that one more time. You come forwards to plank. You lower your knees, and then you lower your hips, and as you lower your hips, you're bending your elbows. So your belly comes down, your chest comes down, and then once you get down, you can make your way into cobra. Okay, so that's version 1. Press up and go back to downward dog. Version 2, the Ashtanga Namaskar. So knees, chest and chin, you hear it a lot in vinyasa classes. So we come forwards to plank, push the floor away with the hands, exhale, lower knees, bending the elbows, coming in towards the waist. Your hips are staying up, your hips aren't going down this time, your bum stays up in the air. You're lowering down, elbows into the waist, chest and chin to the floor. It's not an easy position. From here, so my hips are still up, they're not on the ground. Toes are tucked under, elbows in. From here, point your toes, slide onto your belly, and we're there, ready to go up cobra, whichever cobra you're going for. Let's do that one more time. So come forwards, plank, pushing the floor away, rounding the upper back slightly, not going as far as you think you need to go in plank for some people. Lower knees, keep the hips up. Lower, bend the elbows, lower the chest and chin. Your hips are still up in the air. Your hips are not on the ground. Point the toes, slide onto the belly. Now the hips are down. And find your cobra. Okay, tuck your toes, press up, and go back. So first, before we go into the full version of Chaturanga Dandasana, and some of you might not be doing this in your practice, and as I said, it's not going to lead you to enlightenment because you can do Chaturanga, okay? The goal of yoga is enlightenment, not that you can do Chaturanga. You do what's right for your body in your practice, and don't worry about if you ever do Chaturanga, it really doesn't matter. So if you are going to come into it, you can maybe come with me. If you're not, then watch. So we come up. The first way I'm going to show you is you come forwards to plank and you find that strong plank, pushing the floor away, squeezing the belly button in. As you exhale, it's the same as knees, chest, chin. The elbows are coming into the waist, but we're not going to place the knees on the floor. And for this first one, we're going to go all the way to the floor. Your hips will come first. So watch, lower, elbows, your chest is up, the hips are down, then the chest comes down. But you're kind of going down as one piece, but your hips just go down slightly before your chest. What happens is if the chest goes down first, we put a lot of pressure into the rotator cuff, the shoulder, stabilizing muscles. So we just want to keep the shoulders up a little bit, let the hips go, belly, then chest, but all very, very close together. Let's do that one more time. So coming forwards to plank. So this is the first way for Chaturanga. You go all the way to the ground, exhale, lower, look forwards, don't look down, all the way down, hips slightly before the chest, roll back the shoulders, press up high cobra, and then tuck your toes, downward dog when you're ready. So we'll go through all the versions again quickly after I've done this final version. That is your first step towards the Chaturanga Dandasana, okay? You take the Chaturanga all the way down to the floor, hips first, then chest. And whilst you're going down, it's like you're maintaining your plank strength, your plank precision as you're lowering down. If you feel you start to lose it, put your knees on the ground, okay? So the final version, the full version, from this one, we're going to inhale, come forwards to plank, have a look first. Exhale, you're going to lower down, maintaining plank posture. So you lower. When you lower, your shoulders do not go lower than your elbows. And you roll over your toes. Two ways you can do this. Roll over your toes and lift to upward facing dog. Roll back over the toes, and we go back to downward dog. Okay, so what often happens here with the Chaturanga is that people go too low. The shoulders go lower than the elbows, and I was doing this for a long time, and I ended up with too a double rotator cuff issue, which I've now finally got on top of. So you mustn't let your shoulders go lower than your elbows, and it feels like you're not going that far down, and it feels a little bit strange. And that transition into upward facing dog is tough. So if you need to, if it's too much right now, you come to the floor. You can maybe go halfway to chaturanga, hold, and then lower your hips and your chest, and then press up to high cobra. Okay, so let's do that one more time. The chaturanga. I'll do it now, going into cobra. Okay. So we inhale, come forwards plank. Exhale, lower. You can hold there, and then if you feel you can't roll over the toes, you go all the way down, hips first, and then press up, high cobra. So high cobra means your thighs are still on the ground, your front thighs are still on the ground. If you're in upward facing dog, your thighs are lifted off the ground. Okay, right, so one more of the full version. I'm going to go now, chaturanga, upward facing dog. So we lift up, inhale, forwards plank, push the floor away with the hands. Exhale, lower halfway. Don't let your shoulders go lower than your elbows. Roll over your toes. The thighs are off the ground the whole time, and press up, upward facing dog. Roll over the toes and go back, downward facing dog. Lower your knees. Oh, and it's hard work. When you do it properly, it gets your breathing going, and it really strengthens the muscles up. So what I want you to remember, push the floor away with the arms. As you're lowering down, elbows come into the waist. You lower with control. If you feel you're going to lose that strength of plank, holding your core in, put your knees on the ground. One more time, all the versions. I'm going to go through them all once more. So come up, downward dog. First version. Do them all with me now if you can, so you know the difference. Inhale, forwards plank. Exhale, lower knees, slowly bending the elbows, lower the hips, belly, chest, elbows into the waist. Roll back the shoulder heads, press up. You can go low or high cobra. Exhale, tuck your toes, downward dog. Now we go knees, chest, chin. Inhale, forwards plank. Push the floor away with the hands, squeeze the belly button in. Exhale, lower, knees, bend the elbows, chest and chin. Your hips are up in the air, looking forwards, point the toes, slide onto your belly, low cobra or high cobra. And exhale, downward dog. Now we go chaturanga. We'll go all the way to the floor for this first one, and high cobra. Inhale, forwards plank, pushing the floor away. Exhale, keep looking forwards to the front of your mat as you lower, elbows into the waist, hold for a moment, and then hips down, chest down, roll back the shoulders, press up, high cobra. Tuck your toes, go back, downward facing dog. Full version, chaturanga to upward facing dog. Inhale, forwards plank. Exhale, lower halfway. Don't let the shoulders go too low. Inhale, upward facing dog, thighs off the ground. Exhale, downward facing dog, stretch back. And releasing, knees to the ground, sit back, child's pose. Bring your hands round by your feet. Rest your head down and breathe. And slowly roll up. Good. So listen to your body, be honest with yourself, and if you are not yet strong enough for the chaturanga, then go with one of the other versions and stick with that, and your strength will come. The best way to build your strength for this is to hold the plank. You can hold the plank on your hands, practice it 1 minute a day, pushing the floor away, and then you can maybe take little press-ups, elbows in, and then push back up again. It can be a tiny mini press-up like this. Doesn't have to be a full press up. You just bend the elbows a little bit and push back up and bend, push back up. And as you're doing that, watch you're not losing the connection at the belly button. Watch you're not collapsing in the shoulders. So you maintain plank. So that's a way to build strength for it. Okay, I hope that has helped. I hope that's made the different ways of lowering to the floor more clear. Practice them. Find precision in each position. Shoulders are always down. Core is always strong. We're not collapsing to the floor. We're very precise and strong the way we lower down. Okay, hope that's helped. And I'll see you again soon. Namaste.